Okay, we're recording. So it's the last day of September. Another Pinpoint demo. Big release, big launch yesterday. How did everyone feel that went yesterday?
Yeah, from my
Pretty
perspective, it
good.
went great.
Pretty good.
Yeah, getting feedback already as well, which is awesome. Just people are in there and using it. That's cool. Yeah, so after how upset Rick was last time about Nan coming last, they're going to go first today. So Team Nan to kick us off today.
Does anyone else have anything? If not, I can go.
Go for it.
Okay. I'll try and pick the right desktop this time. I mean, you want to read my emails, but this is much more interesting. So hopefully you can see a web browser. So obviously we released daily and the developer notebook yesterday, but we're already looking at kind of V2 of that, and came to some conclusions around the restrictions that we had with the current model, and how the blocks worked and how we wanted to extend the Markdown editor and focus on that. So we've got a direction. So me and Rick have been going through how we're going to use the underlying library that it seems to be a pretty much de facto standard for building rich text editors on the web, which is Prose Mirror. And the library that we've been using so far in Web App, which is this rich Markdown editor by Outline, which is open source. And so we're looking at that and how we might want to extend it. So I thought it'd just be useful to go through it a little bit, because it's quite nice how Prose Mirror works and how their document model works, and how it can flow into the blocks model for us. So you can see at the top I've got an editor. So this is where my notebook, and it's Markdown, so I can I can add something in Markdown. And underneath that, I'm actually outputting the Markdown that it's rendering, or rather the Markdown that it's creating. But underneath that is the document that the Prose Mirror editor actually stores. And this is what it uses to model this document. And as you can see, it's obviously a lot more verbose than the Markdown, but it's what we're going to use to interact with the document, because we can extend this as we want to create our own nodes, blocks, and marks and things as they're called within the document. So you can see, like, we have a type of heading, it has some attributes, it's got content, and the same, with the next one, pretty straightforward. Then if I start to do something, so like I might have some text, and then maybe I'll make this bit bold. Then you can see that it kind of breaks that down. So it will have, like, there's a bit of text, but then next to the piece of text there's some more text, but it's actually got some styling associated with it. And the same thing with so this is where the rich text editor they've actually extended the Prose Mirror editor themselves, so I can embed a YouTube clip, and we can get really kind of meta about it and have a link
nice
to last week's or 2 weeks ago's video from the same meeting.
Yeah.
And you can see that they've extended it, so they've created their own node type called embed, which has some attributes. So it has the YouTube URL as an attribute, and it matches. They have a regex matcher to find out the actual ID, so they can create this little thumbnail. So you can see how we can create our own nodes. We can extend their schema, so we can have our own type for, like, issue and pull request. We may even do just entity and have different types within that. And then the web app project itself can extend the schema. We'll probably do it outside of the editor, because it needs to obviously go off and fetch some information to actually populate the the entity that we're talking about, which is the editor's not going to know anything about. But yeah, so we can use this to build out the same kind of block-based editing that we have at the moment, and it also supports things like drag and drop kind of already. It's done in a slightly different way, obviously, because this is a text editor. So you can, just do cut, copy, and paste and things like that. And then you can, move different blocks around. Some of this stuff doesn't work quite right at the moment, but we're just kind of getting our heads around how we'll implement this stuff at this level rather than using this editor as one block within the notebook. Yeah. That's all I have. Any questions or anything?
Seems pretty straightforward and pretty inflexible as well, which I think is obviously a super nice benefit. So, I mean, and it gives us all the inline things we talked about, like wanting to bring an issue block inline or have commentary around that. It seems to just fit a lot more with the style we talked about Monday. So it looks good to me.
Yeah,
I also see switch to dark, which is nice.
I mean, that's a thing on top. So, I mean, obviously we can have our own, theming and stuff around if we wanted to. Sure. So in terms of extending it, we can extend it at a node level. So that would be like a block, an HTML element block, like a paragraph or a div or something. And then you can also extend it as a mark, which is an inline text. So like this bold text is a mark within this paragraph. So it allows us to then have inline kind of Jira style issues if we wanted to unfurl them inline, and that would be how we would do a like an app mention.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Like that.
Cool.
And, that would be a defined mark in its own right.
Yeah. So I assume you could even like potentially add you would just add an issue or add a PR as well.
Something like that. At the moment, so some of this is implemented at Prose Mirror, which is super flexible, is modular, is really powerful and extensible. And then some of this is implemented at this rich markdown editor level. So like they have the kind of slash menu for adding things, and this is based on the it's like a kind of wiki documentation editor thing that they have. And I've extended it here to add an issue. So there's different kind of levels that we can extend it at, but we need to extend it at the schema so the document understands the different types that we want to extend, and then also we want to kind of extend it at the component level so it knows, oh, okay, that's an issue. I'll stick in this React component instead of just putting in nan123 or whatever the issue ID might be.
And did I notice it has keyboard shortcuts already for everything? Is that kind of part of the package, or?
That's just what they've implemented at the moment.
Okay. The same markdown editor we're using right now in the notebook.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you. Understand. Okay. Cool. Looks promising for sure.
Got anything else on Team Nan? Sorry, I was just messing around with my meeting settings, trying to stop the waiting room from being on.
I can give a little update. So I've been working on Event API for the last couple of weeks. We've been trying to hunt down a couple of issues with it. So as I was writing this presentation this morning, just get my notes down. I'm like, oh crap, there's a whole lot of things I want to show, but that might be a lunch and learn later on down the road. So I'll give some cliff notes right now. So high level, what is Event API? It's a smart WebSocket proxy, right? So this means that we have our clients, everybody knows how to talk WebSocket. There's some stuff in the middle, and then it's kind of whatever messaging system you want in the back end. So it was Kafka earlier this year, and then Jeff switched over to Rabbit. And it's been working fine up to a point. We've noticed, and you've all probably noticed, we've had to put the RabbitMQ alarms into a different channel because they were getting really annoying. So this is kind of high level here. So what we're noticing is getting a ton of RabbitMQ consumption, CPU consumption. On our stable cluster, we're running 30 replicas for about 3,000 concurrent connections. So we're just kind of, and then Event API itself runs it's running at a high CPU, but it's not near its max. So like something is, it's bottlenecking at like 2 CPUs or 2,000 CPU units on Kubernetes, whatever. And then we're not shoving a ton of messages through it, but we're noticing degraded performance, at over 250 connections a pod, which is curious. So we've got, a handful of bottlenecks, but the big one is we don't want our queuing system to go down, because all the Rabbit docs say if you spike your CPU, you end up blocking the processes, and you can actually kind of foobar Erlang, and then you're up and that's bad. So, a lot of the investigation has been going through what is causing the Rabbit CPU. So their docs say to take a look at connection churn, channel churn. So the way the AMQP handshake is kind of funky. So it still operates on TCP, but AMQP is another protocol on top of that. So instead of a normal 3-way handshake for TCP, that's more like 7 to 10 if you're using AMQPS. So that's a whole lot of back and forth between both the client and the server, and a whole lot of just CPU just to do the handshake. And then AMQP channels are a 2-way handshake, and there is still a minor level of CPU involved with those. So I did some profiling. This is a vanilla server. This is about 60 connections a second. 60 open a connection, open a channel, let it run for 30 seconds, close it. This chunk here, as you can see, this is a Roaring Rabbit. So it's we're running Awesome Ape right now in our Pinpoint environment. This is the cluster step size down from that one. So this is just to see, like, how does making connections impact CPU? So as you can see, quite a lot. There is a direct correlation. So this chunk is open connections, 1-to-1, channel to connection, close both. This here is a pooled scenario where we cache channels and we cache connections. So you can see there's a whole lot less usage. Note there is no actual data being transferred on the queues. There's no data being pushed and no exchange traffic. So this is just connections. And this little chunk on the right is only cache connections using a connection pool, and opening and closing a channel per time you want to connect. So this was using this, we're able to vet out, like, this was a hunch I had, and I just needed some data to prove the hunch. So what we can try is pull the connections. Cool, that obviously helps. How far down the road can we go with channel pooling? Because there's obviously some impact there. We definitely need to see how far we can multiplex our channels to connections. And then obviously we need to figure out what's causing the CPU usage in Event API. When you run it locally, you'll see the CPU has a ton of idle wakeups, which is usually a sign that you're context switching the CPU, which you're just, since it's so asynchronous, that means something's holding on to a lock somewhere. And we're just thrashing CPU. So the last slide that I got to this morning before the meeting started, right now what we have, I've separated out the connection pools. We have one for consuming and one for publishing. So if you read and write from the same connection in Rabbit, you can actually get yourself bottlenecked because there's only so much data you can pipe over a single TCP socket. So by separating those, we have, it's one-way traffic, so we can get a lot more throughput. One thing that I found was interesting was I went away from pool channels for a while for consuming, because that caused some really, really wonky issues. But somehow it worked out really well to pull channels for publishing. So this allows us to multiplex the publish calls. Otherwise, I noticed messages were getting backed up by pushing to a single channel every time we wanted to publish. So now we get a fresh channel from the pool, send our message, put the channel back, and it just round robins through all the channels. Right now we're running 5 channels on every connection. I tried being pretty aggressive at first and doing, like, how high can we go? So we're running like 300, and then stuff started acting weird, and then so we've been backing it down. How far down do we need to go? So in Edge right now, I've been running a single node for the last 24 hours, and everything's looking pretty nominal so far. One thing that's interesting is our CPU usage is actually it actually fluctuates now. So before we'd be stuck at about 2100, 2000, 2100. And right now we're sending, 270 some odd connections, and that's just our pretty steady state Edge, usage. So I'm going to work on a load test today to see how far we can push it. because I really want to know when we push this over to stable, how many replicas do we need and what do we need to scale on? And are we actually bottlenecked by the number of concurrent connections again, or is it just going to be a direct correlation to CPU? So the initial investigations are looking good. There's still some work to be done around the monitoring and the scaling and the and that sort of thing. So, so that's all I've got.
Cool. Thanks for all your hard work on that, man. I know it's been quite a project, so it's beneficial. Obviously, it's a really important part of the system. So,
thanks. I can do a lunch learn on how to interpret a pprof chart if we need to as well too now.
What's left on Team 9, or are we moving on? All right, over to Bolt.
I've got some stuff I can show. Let's see. So now that the profile is out in public, I just wanted to sort of reiterate all the different ways that you can share it, so we can try to get our own profiles out in the wild. I know I've shown some of this, but I also rolled out some new sharing options yesterday afternoon. So as you've seen before, we have here the ability to copy the embed code and the ability to copy the actual URL. So this URL is what you want to share on like social media. So like if you want to share it on Slack or share it on Twitter or LinkedIn, this URL, you know, this is what it'll unfurl and show you the nice little preview image. Whereas this embed code, this is what we use for things like our blog posts and our changelog. This is just basically a raw iframe. There's no wrappers around it. Nothing too pretty. Something that I'm hoping to get done is to build a little client-side library that will handle some of the loading states if you're not using React. Because if you see this repo here, this is one of our open source projects on GitHub. It's called Cards React. So this actually contains a bunch of wrapper code for the profile, so that we can interpret some of the messaging that the profile frame sends. So for example, this allows you to show a loading indicator before the profile pops up, whereas the direct iframe embed, it just kind of shows an empty space and then all of a sudden the profile pops in. But with this React component, it has a bunch of handling to try to improve that experience. And you can also pass in some props instead of having to, you know, memorize all the little tweaks to the URL scheme to know what parameters to pass to do what. So if you want to put this on like your personal website and it's built in React, this repository here is the way to go. It's super simple, and this is open source. So if you do end up using it, we obviously, it's evolving and it's a work in progress. So if there's things that are missing, it's a good opportunity for us to sort of fill in the gaps and test this out and make sure we're not missing anything. Now the final thing, and what I added yesterday, is the ability to embed it as just an image. So you can see here on my GitHub profile, in my README, I have my Pinpoint profile here, and I have it set to hide certain things. So I'm hiding my avatar and my name because that's already shown on my GitHub profile. So now this is the only thing that's not built into the app yet. I'm hoping to come up with a good way to sort of copy some of these codes too, and maybe even generate this README automatically. If you don't know, on GitHub you can create a repository with the same name as your username, and then the README will show up right on your profile. But you can, I'll post a link to mine so you can see this URL scheme for how to build these. And then hopefully in the next couple of days, there'll be a nice way to just generate it from within the app when you
Can
go to
we,
share.
Keegan, could we just look at, we'd have to debug a little bit. Could we just look at the headers coming from GitHub and just dynamically, like we know you're being embedded in a GitHub profile and just, turn them on automatically?
Potentially, yeah. We could, show certain things. I kind of like that we have the choice here, because in some cases I may want to show some of this stuff. Like if
I'm just assuming, I'm assuming defaults though. I'm just saying defaults. If you didn't provide anything, then we would assume reasonable defaults. If you did, then obviously we would respect whatever you said.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Cool.
Ian, were you going to
Yeah.
show the initial state of the profile? I don't know if that's easy for you to get into, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, sure. I can show that. Let's see. I think on Edge, my profile is mostly empty for testing, so that should work out perfectly. Yeah, perfect. So a couple tweaks to this. Before there wasn't really much to help you out while you were editing. So now we have some placeholder content. So you can see here I have this one filled out on my departments, but I don't have this one filled out. And before you just had to go look for this little pencil icon that was hard to find. But now we sort of show some mock data and gray it out. Same with your languages. So it makes it just very clear where there is things you can add, same as like prompting you to fill in the location and to fill in the description and repositories. The other change to editing this is that you no longer need all 4 of these departments. You can have any number of them. Obviously, having 1 or 2 that looks kind of funny because it's either just one thing or it's just a straight line. But you can see here, for example, I can have 3. Instead of having to add an other, I can choose that I just don't want one of them. I can show you here what it looks like when you just have 1. Kind of useless, but we allow it in case for some reason you decide that's what you want. Same with languages. So I can, if I only have 1 language I work on, we no longer require you to come up with 3.
And then that initial profile state, can you get into that? Where the new screen that you added before you add your.
Oh, right. Yeah, let me go ahead do this. So now when you're going to create your profile, this is what the settings screen looks like. And we show a sort of little mock card of what yours could look like. So we pull your name and your avatar, and then this stuff is just static from the app. So if anyone has thoughts on, maybe we should change some of this content, or you come up with something clever to put in, we can. We can tweak this pretty easily. But yeah, when you come in, typically you won't have a username. So you go in, you pick your username, and then when you say claim my profile, you get dropped into this screen where you can start editing.
Makes a big difference. It's a great ad. Cool. I don't think I have anything else.
One other thing that would be nice, as you explained it, it made a lot of sense, but it's not always clear from the buttons. It'd be good to have tooltips over like preview, copy, embed, copy URL, like to expand when you use which one. Obviously, copy,
Makes
embed,
sense.
Copy URL. Obviously, the other ones aren't as big of a deal.
Yeah, I've been toying with the idea of maybe making these buttons into just like a drop down that says share, as we're getting more and more sharing options.
Yeah.
And then we could have a few options like copy the embed, copy the URL, and then to build your GitHub README. But yeah, that's everything for the profile.
Awesome. Good job, Keegan. That's coming along. So nice. Anything else on the team bolt?
Yeah, I have some things, I guess, to talk about with content feed. I don't really have anything to show, but I did want to just sort of talk about some of the improvements we've made, and hopefully some of the improvements we're going to make coming up. One of the things that I noticed was that the language detector wasn't working very well. So I switched to one that is now sort of more dedicated to mixed language content as well as shorter content. And that seems to be working a lot better. So please let me know if you see any foreign language content at this point. I also implemented a thing where basically we were getting some 301s back. 301s are that the content has moved from our RSS feeds. So now if we get one of those, it will follow the 301 and get what the new RSS feed URL should be, and then update that in the CMS. So that's cool. And today I'll be looking at those duplicates to make sure that, we don't see those as much anymore. But please let me know if anybody has any thoughts or comments about the content feed and things that we can do better, or other sources or anything like that. Thank
How many
you so
feeds
much.
are we? Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say thank you so much to Christy for adding a lot of different content feeds.
Yeah, I was going to ask how many we were up to now. I don't know, but I guess I could look for myself. But
Yeah, I could check. It looks like we have 4 pages of at least 20. So
all right.
somewhere on the order of 80 or 70, 65, I think,
Cool.
by my count.
Great.
Awesome. That's all I have.
Good stuff. Anything else on Team Bolt before we move over to gold miners?
I'll just give a quick update. I don't have like a demo, but the demo I did last week, the canary testing thing for Epic Risk, we did finally get that rolled in. So that's working for Epic Risk at least, which is
Awesome.
nice. Yep. But that's it.
Cool. Gonna move over to gold miners then. Bring us home.
Oh, we will. Jeff, do you mind if I go first? Yeah, I don't mind. All right. Desktop, share. All right, so I've been working on create mutations. So you'll notice in this cute little side panel, and we got our brand spanking new. UI still needs a little more tweaking, and I'm currently working on a little bug where the saving thing doesn't come back right, but we do have it more or less. Let's create a ticket in Nick's project. He's on Bolt, right? There. I'm going to make an epic. No, I'm just kidding. Task issue title. Nick, delete this. Submit. And the thing's not going to come back, but it made it. Head over to Bolt. This is the worst. We'll definitely need some sort of thing, I think, that says like, oh, you just created issue.
It'll be faster to find it in Pinpoint, probably.
Actually, you're right. You're totally right. What am I doing? I have no idea. Nick. What's the emoji I use? I use cheers, right? Faster. I think this works. Haha, there it is. Boom. Wow, there it is.
That's pretty great.
I'm going to go assign it to Nick. Anyway.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, see, that's my weird bug. But yeah, so that's that little more UI work to do, and maybe add more stuff in the future. But yeah.
Will the original toast send the issue back? That issue.
Yeah. So far, no, we don't have any sort of like, oh, you just created, whatever, Bolt 405 or whatever. It'll just say you created it.
We're going to improve this quite a lot.
Yeah, sure. I was just curious. This is great. This is another one less reason for me to go to Jira.
Exactly. I think that's it for us, unless Pedro and Carlos have anything.
I don't have anything this time.
I did, but I don't think I have it ready. I just got a syntax error in my code. Shoot.
How are you getting on with the calendar breakdown per person, Pedro? I saw it was in awaiting validation.
Yeah, I was just gonna show that. Problem is that let me just remove this. Let me see if I can show it really quick. Okay. All right, you can see. Okay, cool. So if I go to the org dashboard, and then what is it? Analyze. There you go. And then you go to people. Now you have the meeting hours for the next or for the previous 14 days for almost everyone. except for those. There's still one little thing I gotta work on, but right now, if there's no events or you haven't linked, I show a little dash. What I'm gonna do is if you have linked but you don't have any events, then I'll just show 0 hours. Otherwise, I'll just show a dash. So it's still work in progress. I just gotta finish that last part I just talked about, and then I'll have the PR ready for review and merge. That's it.
Just one little thing I noticed here. It looks like we're using 2 different types of dashes. The cycle time is different.
Yeah, I just noticed that just now as well.
Yeah,
so,
just look. It's probably M dash. Just look at the other ones. It's probably like an M dash versus just a dash for your keyboard.
Yeah, I'll fix it. Minor thing. We're also using that in traceability, so just gotta figure out. I'll probably just use a long one.
Yeah. Yeah, we should be using the long one. We should probably be an M dash, EM dash, or whatever. And
EM dash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look for that.
Yeah, it's no big deal. I'll add that to my PR also for the other columns that have just a small one.
Good catch, Keegan. I'm surprised that wasn't Chris Bowley. I'm so let down.
You screaming into the mic. The M-dash committee.
I did have a question about the numbers on that. Some of them were like 189 or whatever. If that's only 2 weeks, you would assume they wouldn't have more than 80 hours in 2 weeks.
I was wondering the same thing. Are we applying the 14-day filter? Seems weird. Unless it's like counting multiple.
Yep. You know how you have like 2 events scheduled at the same time? Maybe that.
That's a lot. There's only 336 hours in 2 weeks, so.
Right.
Right. Nick's and Andrew's are identical as well, which seems strange.
Yeah.
That's when it's that high.
It must be like some other calendar. 10 days.
Oh, I wonder if there's like, you know what it is? The on-call is like a meeting, and it just stretches the whole week. I bet that's what it is.
So we need to look at maybe any meeting that the duration is greater than 24 hours and exclude it.
Yeah.
Any calendar event that's greater than a day, just drop it.
Yeah.
Then we got to think about PTO as well, because that's something we're going to want to do later, right? Just be able to record, understand.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great though, Pedro, and I know EJ is going to be really happy with this once we get it in.
Yeah, it's a great fast turn.
Should have it in shortly.
Awesome. Anyone have anything else for today? All right. Well,
if not, we do have to wish Evan a happy birthday on the.
Do we have to sing? Can we sing?
I don't know. I was thinking about that, but
it never worked out. We got to do it.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Sing.
Happy birthday, dear Evan.
Happy birthday to you. Zoom synchronized birthday.
I imagine I'm really happy we were on a Seal Beach. Sounds like.
What's that?
Speech.
Yeah, let's get it.
Well, I mean, last year at this time, I was celebrating in Arizona with everyone. So.
Wow, is that right?
Can you believe that was last year this time? Man, that seems like
Robin's wearing his shirt in memory.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, is it Cultivate? I can't even remember. It's been so long.
The virtual retreat.
Oh,
that was the retreat that never happened, or I guess it was the virtual retreat. We didn't all get shirts though.
Yeah.
Only select.
Yeah, we should get virtual retreat shirts.
We have them. We just never were able to get them to anybody.
We should get We're Surviving t-shirts.
Like a Zoom, like us all of our a Zoom pictures of us all on Zoom, and that's the shirt.
That would be a great. Like we need another retreat, and that would be a great. You know how we made the pictures of each retreat for the website? We need a Zoom version of that.
Yeah. Sending it around
Put
for
on the
signature.
website the COVID-19 retreat. Do it. Let's
Soon
do it.
enough. 2021. We're back.
As long as I can put my Bitmoji on the shirt.
I'm gonna be upset if you're not your Bitmoji for Halloween. Like you have to figure out how to make that Halloween costume.
Now, what's the difference between a Bitmoji and an Animoji? Is it Animoji just the animated proprietary version?
Apple trademark.
Apple trademark. We'll have to cut that out of the video. We'll get sued.
Cool.
That's a good idea. Right. I'll work on a Halloween costume with the Bitmoji. I like that. Yeah, I'm gonna run with that.
Yeah, nice. Everybody have a great day.
See you, everybody. See you guys.